Welcome in. I am just so glad you're here joining us today because we have a truly beautiful and frankly devastating mission for this deep dive.
Yeah, and it's a heavy one today.
It really is. Today, we are looking closely at a deeply evocative piece of poetry. It's titled, Go Away with the Memories, and it's written by the poet Dmyno.
Right, and if you're looking at our source material for today, you might notice it's surprisingly brief.
Yeah, very short.
Exactly. It is just a single four-stanza poem translated from Sinhala, which is the predominant language of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
But do not let its length fool you.
Oh, absolutely not.
This text is remarkably dense. It crosses vast cultural boundaries and dives straight to the absolute bottom of the universal human experience of heartbreak.
It really does, and we are going to take our time mapping this out because there is an entire world hiding inside these few lines.
It functions almost like a masterclass in the economy of language. The journey we have mapped out for you today will explore the mechanics of how the poet achieves that heavy emotional gravity in such a short space. We are going to start by analyzing the poem's striking contrast between the physical world.
The seemingly unchanging nature around us.
Exactly, that unchanging nature and the sudden shock of personal loss. From there, we will unpack the cross-cultural literary references the poet weaves in, specifically how they anchor their isolated grief to global legend.
Which is fascinating.
And finally, we will dissect the visceral sensory details used to convey a state of absolute helplessness and what that tells us about the psychology of memory.
Okay, let's unpack this because the way this poem opens sets a very specific, almost oppressive stage. We get this sweeping panoramic view of a landscape that simply refuses to acknowledge the speaker's pain.
Yeah, the opening imagery focuses entirely on the physical world's indifference to internal devastation. The poet describes the scene in deliberate, permanent terms. We are told that a couple of stars in the faraway sky are, quote, still right there.
Still right there.
Yeah. The grove of trees, the foliage where the lovers constantly met, seems to wave at the speaker. Then we get a rapid succession of distinctly different locations: the river, the beach, the theater, and the mountaintop. The poet looks at all of them and concludes they are just as before.
Just as before. That phrase carries so much weight. I want you, listening to this right now, to think about that specific feeling. Have you ever experienced a major life shift?
Yeah.
A sudden loss, a massive career change, or receiving life-altering news? You step outside, and isn't it the most bizarre, almost offensive feeling in the world that the physical universe just keeps spinning?
Totally.
The bus still runs on its usual schedule. The mountain is still sitting there. People are still in line buying coffee. You are standing there with your personal universe entirely shattered, and the actual universe is stubbornly exactly the same.
That is a perfect articulation of the psychological tension at play here. When a profound relationship ends, the geography of that relationship,
The places you went together.
right, the beach you walked on, the theater you sat in, it transforms into a museum of ghosts.
But the physical spaces themselves refuse to change their molecular structure just because you are grieving.
Right, the universe doesn't care.
It doesn't. What's fascinating here is how that unchanging physical reality forces the speaker's internal reality to fracture. The theater and the mountain represent different scales of time.
One is man-made and temporary, and the other is ancient.
Ancient and geological, yet both are equally indifferent. Because the mountain is so undeniably real and unchanged, the loss of the partner begins to feel unreal. That brings us to the concluding thought of this first stanza.
Which is such a powerful line.
It really is. The speaker says, "It feels like a dream that you left me." Or in some nuances of the translation, "I wonder if you left me in a dream."
It almost reads like the brain's defense mechanism kicking in, creating a buffer against the shock.
But that's one way to look at it, but another psychological angle is that the brain isn't defending itself, it's actually misfiring because it has lost its primary anchor.
Oh, interesting. The cognitive dissonance is simply too loud. The logic the brain tries to process is, the stars are exactly where they were yesterday, the river is identical, therefore your absence violates the laws of physics.
So it has to be fake.
Exactly. It must be an illusion, a nightmare I'm going to wake up from. This dreamlike state of grief isn't just sadness, it is a profound disorientation. It highlights how sudden the loss truly was.
It's as if the speaker's trying to solve an equation where the fundamental constants have subtly shifted, but the environment remains the same. The environment is the control group, but the primary variable, the person they love, has vanished.
Spot on.
And that confusion propels us directly into the second stanza, and the shift here is jarring in the best way. We move away from the personal, immediate geography of local beaches and mountains, and suddenly we are thrust into legendary, ancient tales of sorrow.
Yeah, the scope just explodes.
The poet starts invoking massive mythological figures, Rama and Sita, Damayanti, Romeo.
The pivot from the local to the mythological is a brilliant structural move. The poet zooms out from their isolated suffering to something epic. What requires close attention here is the specific combination of the names chosen.
Right.
You have a deliberate fusion of Eastern and Western literary traditions. On the Eastern side, you have Rama and Sita, central figures of the ancient Indian epic, the Ramayana.
The ultimate story of devotion.
Yes, their story is defined by absolute devotion, a traumatic abduction by the demon king Ravana, and a separation that tests the boundaries of duty and cosmic order. Then you have Damayanti from the Mahabharata, whose love story with King Nala involves losing a kingdom to a game of dice.
Wandering half naked and starving in a forest.
Right, enduring a maddening, prolonged separation.
And then, placed right alongside these towering, ancient, divinely tested figures of Eastern tradition, we get Shakespeare's Romeo,
Yeah.
a teenager from Verona. It's such a bold, almost chaotic choice to put Romeo in the same stanza as Rama and Sita.
It seems chaotic initially, but it serves a highly specific thematic purpose. If we connect this to the bigger picture of what the poet is trying to achieve, blending these names erases all cultural, geographical, and chronological borders.
Because pain doesn't have borders.
Exactly. Rama and Sita represent a love tested by cosmic forces and divine duty. Damayanti represents love tested by fate and earthly ruin. Romeo represents love destroyed by human feuding, impulsivity, and youthful rebellion.
Well, it covers all the bases.
By putting them together, the poet is arguing that the source of the tragedy doesn't matter. Whether your heartbreak is ordained by the gods, caused by a roll of the dice, or the result of teenage impulsiveness, the internal human devastation feels exactly the same.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's not just a detached roll call of tragic figures. It's how they are actively used to describe the speaker's own internal state. The poem states that Rama and Sita's love stories literally burn my heart. The speaker feels a deep, personal sadness about Romeo and the crying Damayanti. They aren't just reading these stories as an intellectual exercise, they are physically internalizing the weight of them.
That physical internalization is the core mechanism of the stanza. The speaker is elevating their personal, modern-day breakup to the level of mythic tragedy. They are tethering their lonely grief in this single, isolated moment to a massive, historical lineage of sorrow.
A lineage of sorrow. I like that phrasing.
Well, the poem describes this lineage beautifully as the sighs and tears that flowed from love. By recognizing the suffering of Romeo or the tears of Damayanti, the speaker acknowledges that they have unwillingly joined a very old, very tragic fraternity.
But even with all that grand mythological company, even after touring the greatest tragedies of human history, the stanza ends with that exact same repetition of disbelief from the first stanza.
Yes, it circles back.
I wonder again if you left me in a dream. The speaker looks out at the stars and feels the shock. Then they look at thousands of years of literature, feel the connection to epic sorrow, but it still comes back to that baseline denial. The myths don't actually fix the problem.
This raises an important question about why humans instinctively seek comfort in art during times of crisis. The speaker reaches out to these grand stories, perhaps looking for a blueprint on how to survive this pain, or at least for solace.
But it doesn't work.
No, the grand stories don't patch the immediate hole left by the person's absence. The legends validate the pain, but they fail to erase the dreamlike shock of the personal loss. Intellectualizing the grief through literature proves entirely ineffective.
Which flows seamlessly into the third stanza, where the poet broadens the scope even further, realizing that specific stories aren't enough. We go from named characters to the entirety of human art.
A massive jump.
The speaker observes that there are so many poems, stories, and paintings written about defeated or lost love. Imagine standing in a massive, infinite gallery dedicated entirely to the concept of a broken heart.
Notice the cinematic movement the poet employs immediately after that broad observation. They pan the camera all the way out to encompass all of human art. Every painting, every poem ever created about loss, and then violently snap the lens right back into the most intensely personal, visceral, and sensory experience imaginable.
The contrast is jarring.
Very. The lines that follow strip away all the grandeur. The poet writes, "The scent of your tearful sigh still wets my heart."
That line stops you in your tracks. The scent of your tearful sigh still wets my heart. blending a scent, a sound, and a physical touch into one overlapping sensation.
It's intense.
It mimics the cognitive overload you experience during a panic attack, or in the deepest, most suffocating moments of acute grief.
It is a profound example of synesthesia, used here not just as a poetic device, but it's an accurate reflection of trauma.
Okay.
In moments of severe emotional distress, the brain doesn't file memories neatly into distinct sensory categories. The nervous system becomes overwhelmed. The memory of the lover isn't a dusty concept sitting passively in the mind, it is an active physical agent.
It's happening right now.
Exactly. A sigh, which is a sound, possesses a scent. That scent possesses moisture. And that moisture doesn't just touch the skin, it bypasses the physical body entirely and wets the heart.
Wow.
It operates much like a phantom limb. The person is gone, but the neurological pathways still register their touch, their smell, their breath with agonizing clarity.
It is aggressively intimate. After talking about mountains, stars, and ancient epics, we're suddenly trapped in the dark, feeling a damp, tearful sigh directly on the heart. The vulnerability is absolute.
And it builds to that climax.
Right, the vulnerability peaks in the very next line, which serves as the emotional climax of this entire section. The speaker says, "Without the warmth and affection my mind begs for, I am helpless."
The word helpless is the ultimate surrender in this text. It signifies the collapse of all previous coping mechanisms. The attempt to contextualize the grief by looking at the unchanging landscape failed.
Comparing the lost to Romeo or Sita failed.
Reflecting on all the paintings in the world failed. When the speaker finally looks inward, past the art and the myths, what they find is a mind reduced to a state of begging.
Begging. That's such a raw word.
It strips away all poetic armor. There is no philosophical distance left, only raw desperation.
It reminds me of being violently ill with the flu. You can know intellectually what a virus is, you can know the history of medicine, and you can know that millions of people get the flu every year.
But it doesn't help.
No. In that specific moment, when you are shivering uncontrollably in bed at 3 a.m., none of that context matters. You don't care about the history of the virus. You just want to feel warm again. The speaker's mind is shivering in the dark. It is begging for the specific affection of one specific person, and all the epic poetry in the world can't act as a blanket.
That analogy captures the core failure of intellectualizing grief perfectly. The transition from the cosmic to the microscopic demonstrates that knowing you are part of a universal human experience does not replace the missing warmth in your own mind.
Yeah.
Because the intellectualization fails, and because the art and the myths provide no actual escape route, the speaker's mind has nowhere else to go but back to where the trauma started.
Which brings us to the final stanza of the poem.
Oh!
If you are reading the text, you will notice something immediately upon reaching the end. The fourth stanza is an exact repetition of the first stanza, word for word.
We are abruptly back to the start.
We are back to the couple of stars in the faraway sky. We are back to the grove waving at the speaker. The river, the beach, the theater, the mountaintop, just as before. And ending, yet again, with the feeling that this departure is a dream.
The structural psychology of this repetition is devastating. Why bring the reader right back to the start? Because that is the exact architecture of human grief.
It's a loop.
It is not a straight line, it is a closed loop. No matter how far the speaker's mind wanders to escape the pain, no matter how deeply they analyze Rama and Sita, or how intensely they dissect their own sensory helplessness, gravity inevitably pulls them right back to their immediate, indifferent physical surroundings.
So what does this all mean when we take a step back and look at the title of the poem? The title is literally an imperative command. Go away with the memories. Complete with an exclamation point. It's forceful, almost angry.
Here we find the supreme tragic irony of the entire piece, which is often amplified when examining translations from South Asian languages. In Sinhala, an imperative command like this often carries a complex weight. It isn't just a sterile instruction, it blends acute frustration with a desperate underlying plea.
Right.
The title is a demand for the ghosts of the lover to take their memories and leave. Yet the entire structure of the poem we just analyzed proves that the speaker is hopelessly trapped by them.
It can't make them go away.
They are completely incapable of making the memories go away. Instead, they are projecting these memories onto every single thing they encounter. Every star, every mountain, every epic story, every hypothetical painting, it is all forcibly filtered through the lens of this lost love.
They're demanding a clean slate while writing furiously on a chalkboard that is already completely full. It's heartbreaking because you realize the title is a command that possesses zero authority.
Zero.
It's a shout into an empty room. It's that begging mind we discussed earlier, crying out for a relief that we as readers know isn't coming because the poem's structure traps them in an endless loop between the first and fourth stanzas. Time has stopped for the speaker, even as the river keeps flowing.
Synthesizing these elements, the unyielding physical landscape, the cross-cultural myths, the synesthetic sensory details, and the inescapable cyclical repetition reveals Weerathunga W. Nimmel's poem as a highly concentrated exploration of how grief distorts reality.
It captures the cruel juxtaposition of a world that remains solidly permanent while a personal universe evaporates.
It illustrates how a mind in pain grasps at grand narratives to make sense of the senseless, only to realize that personal sorrow is stubbornly unique and heavily physical. Ultimately, it paints a portrait of a mind trapped in an endless waking dream, pleading for an escape from memories that have become its only way of seeing the world.
It is a stunning piece of writing. It proves you do not need hundreds of pages to thoroughly map the human heart. Sometimes, 4 stanzas and an unchanging mountain are all it takes. Before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Go back to that very first stanza.
Yes. To the line where the poet mentions that the grove of trees, the foliage where the lovers used to meet, waves at me. When you are out in the world today, perhaps passing a place that holds a strong memory for you, think about that waving grove. Is nature's wave a comforting gesture of solidarity? Is the environment saying, I remember too, you aren't alone?
Or is it something else?
Or is it a mocking, painful reminder of the ghost that used to stand right beside you? The answer might completely change how you experience the physical world around you. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of heartbreak and memory. We hope this encourages you to keep looking closer, to keep challenging your interpretations, and to always seek out the profound, universe-sized details hiding inside the shortest of texts. Take care of yourselves and keep diving deep.